This is my Let's Play for Production Line. It's a pretty interesting game. Basically, you're trying to build a car building plant from scratch. And yeah, there's still a lot of end-game features that still need some work. But it's coming along pretty good. Since I first bought the game, it's gone quite a ways, changed quite a lot of things. So, without much, let's just jump on into it. So we're going to start a new game, and just because I feel like showing off the game rather than trying to play at the most difficult level, we're going to play on a Mega Factory. Now, I haven't checked this out. Oh, okay, this is cool. I did not realize that I could edit this. Alright. Well then. Now, how do I get back to the main menu? Ah. Okay, so, a little bit buggy. I mean, this thing is in alpha. Anyway, we're going to start with a Mega Factory. So, click on it, click Play Mission. You always want to hit pause right off the bat. Now, this does pause this timer up here. Not sure what the timer's for. Maybe bragging rights. So as you can see, we're starting off with $3 million and quite a bit of locked areas. But we're going to start here in this big, huge area. And I've watched another Let's Play of this with an older version. It's kind of nice to start up here in this area, at least for your first setup. So when you build, I'm going to be building backwards. So I'm going to start with an export, because at the end of the line you always have to run an export and a quality check. These two always come one after the other, so you can put them right next to each other. Electronics, generally you still want some space, but there's really not much additions or breaking down of this that you can do, so you don't really need a ton of space. Now, this line is going to be the most basic, the most crowded. It's just going to go in as short of a line as possible, because this is just building the absolute basic car. This just gets us started. So, what I'm going to do once I figure out my stream, because, of course, YouTube doesn't want to work correctly. Okay, now it's working. Alright, so now we got to choose fit accessories. Now, you can see underneath where it says power demand, in this little pop-up, you can see where it says fit lights, fit horn, fit seats, windscreen, and dashboard. Well, you can actually break this thing down, if you hit this plus button, into those options. And you can even add fit aircon. Now currently these are locked because they haven't been researched, so we have to do one slot for all that work. But this line, we're not going to worry about breaking it down and expanding it. We're going to focus on just getting the thing built. Engine, as you can see, still has a lot of stuff you can do. And once again, none of it's researched, so we have to go with the big one. Now, you can see I'm not really spacing these out for any sort of expansion because I don't really need to, except here. So right here is where there will be a fair bit of expansion, and that's just because this is one of the single largest time wasters here, is this paint. The body takes a while too, so we're going to split that into two, just so we can try and get as many as we can. Now, I screwed up when I placed that, so I'm going to delete it. Wastes a little bit of money, but overall, I'm not too concerned about it. And then, at the very beginning, we have our chassis assembly. Now this one, space it out a little bit. This one's going to go pretty quick. So you might be wondering, what about all these little spaces between all of these? How am I going to route the cars that we're building to each one? Well, that's what the conveyor's for. So you don't really need a conveyor behind the chassis assembly, but you got to bring it out and run it to each of these. Now the interesting part is these little junctions here, they don't automatically connect if you start right next to them. You actually have to overlap to get it to change the type of junction. See right there? This junction is still a corner, even though there's a piece next to it. But if I expand off of it, now it's a T-junction. I don't want a T-junction there, I do just want a corner, so there we go. So now up here is where it starts getting a little tricky, mainly because up here we have 3 paint booths and 2 sources for the previous step. So just run those 2 together, run these into each other, and now this will fill, and all 3 paints will go through. Alrighty. So now that we're through the paint section, now we just got to connect engine to accessories, accessories to electronics, and electronics to the quality shack. Now how do they get their parts? That's what the resource importer is for, this thing. So you place the resource importer on one of these small little doors, and the big door is obviously for the cars, for the export. And then you go from the importer to the conveyor. Now these little red dots are what you have to connect. So you just run this along, connect it. And it'll place the lines as you need them. Now this is the part where it gets kind of annoying, because these do not like going across the actual units. So you can do it a little bit, but if it's more than one block of the actual segment that you're putting it on, like this one's paint, goes over just one block of it. If it goes over more than one block, it'll automatically try and route around it, which I don't really like, but not much I can do about it. And then finally, the last piece is to connect to the chassis. Now, you can actually go over the conveyor belts with the resource conveyors. It just costs more to do so, but I think it looks a lot neater and a lot tidier when you do that. So as you can see, all of our conveyors are in, it's connected to everything. Now, I could start the game, but there's one more step we got to do, and that's what these little green blocks here are for. Those are for facilities. Now right now there's only one facility we can do, and that is the research office. The research center is slightly better, but not much I can really do with that because I haven't researched it yet. So we'll start with 6 research offices. Sorry about that noise. I'm actually going to get rid of that noise real quick. Shut up the sound effects volume and the master volume. Okay, so that should be a lot better. So I'm going to place 6 of these because right now we're still sitting at $1.6 million. So I can actually run these. And you see they all have the flag no research. Well, pretty simple to fix that. You click on this little microscope. Takes you into the research. Now you can choose processes, and this helps you build things. So you can specialize in accessories, and that'll let you break down the accessories construction to the individual steps, which can actually make it go a lot faster. And you can actually split the individual steps that take forever, such as the drying in the paint. And you can split those off, get multiple cars drying at once, and then come back to a single paint. Technologies, on the other hand, this is what you can add to the car. This is what's going to make you competitive against the AI competitors that really you can't check up on. Which it would be nice if you could kind of see your competitors. But again, alpha game, not much you can expect. So, we're going to start with processes. And we're going to scroll towards the bottom here. Now this one here, body design, which unlocks the design studio, this one's going to be kind of important here in a little bit. Because right now all we have is a sedan. But we're going to start with research centers, even though it's a huge amount of research points and we're only creating 0.6. This thing will really boost that when we start producing research centers. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to go all the way back to the top, come down a little bit, and we're going to add this to the queue, body specialization. Now the body is one of the longer ones, so is paint. So we're going to start with body specialization, which breaks it down, and then we have a few other areas we can specialize in to break it down even further, which we're going to need to. Body frame specialization being one of them. Door specialization only allows us to add 3 steps instead of the 1, but while I'm here, I do like to add it in. And I'm not really sure what the speed difference is with the specializations in bumper and arches, but I usually add those in just so I'm specialized in the entire segment and I can really break it down. Now I'm starting with specialization primarily because I want to add a second line. That second production line is going to be broken down, and these specializations is what's going to allow me to add all of these features, these techs. Like, as I'm hovering here over anti-lock brakes, you see that it upgrades at the slot fit brakes. Well, that requires wheels specialization. So if we come back here, we find wheels specialization, which, if I recall correctly, is under engine. Yep, there it is. So wheels specialization, it doesn't show everything that it unlocks, but it unlocks wheels, tires, and brakes. Breaks it down into those 3 steps. So for this, we need to have wheels specialization, and then we also have to have the slot fit brakes built in, or the unit, and then we can upgrade that unit to anti-lock brakes, and any car passing through there, if I've chosen to put that in as an option, will allow me to put in anti-lock brakes. But for right now, we're going to specialize in the body, get that broken down in another line, and we're just going to focus on breaking things down. Now the nice thing about having the queue is it'll pop up when it's done researching, but it's not going to, I don't have to actually go in and select the next one. Now we're playing on single speed. This gets a little slow, so we're going to crank up the speed. Full speed ahead. So pretty soon you'll see that car, that frame, as you can see there. It's adding the body, the trunk, all the bits and pieces. Now, this little gray area, this is called the stockpile. This is what actually allows the actual robots here to put parts on. So if the parts aren't here, it can't add it. Which, breaking this down further, you still have this 4x4 little stockpile, the 16-piece stockpile per unit after it's broken down. But when it's broken down, each section, doors, windows, wing mirrors, body frame, each section will have its own stockpile, so you can actually have enough parts to keep things going, especially once you start adding robots and really picking up the speed on these. So as you can see, our little plan is working. We got multiple cars going through paint all at once. The engine is another one that kind of goes a little slow for obvious reasons. I mean, it is doing a lot. But the body and the paint is usually where a lot of the delay goes. And you can see we're already backing up with 2 cars over here. And it's smart enough because it's equal distance that it'll actually shift where the cars go. See, it's equal, they're equal on the backup, so it's going to send it this way first. Now it's sending it this way. And it's just going to alternate. Which is good. It kind of needs to be able to do that. So as we progress, we see up here, this is car stock / sales. This will let us see what's in our showroom, currently nothing. And it'll let us see what segment in the market we're in and how competitive we are. Right now, not very competitive. Got 150 people coming to our showroom per hour to look at our cars. That's why we're able to sell them pretty quick right now. Our market share in total across all aspects, we're only sitting at about 2.5%, 2 1/3, or 2/3. And we have literally no brand awareness. Okay. Well, that's because we're only building budget sedans. Absolute basics, right? 4 per hour. We're producing 3 per hour, which I'm not sure how that works. 13 customers an hour. And in the budget segment, we have a 12% market share. If I had a compact, we'd be at 15.75% budget share, or market share. But I don't have that yet. Oh, alright, so we got our research centers available, so let's get that built. I'm going to come down here to build that. We're actually going to build 2 of them. That's going to bring us up from 0.6 to 1.2 research points, or sorry, it's going to bring us up, because we're building 2 of them, from 0.6 to 1.0. Actually, wait, no. Yeah, 1.2. So, build it there, and we'll put another one right here, so we can really make this thing go fast. Now, as you can see, body specialization allows us roof, doors, and body frame. We already know we're going to break down the doors and body frame in a minute, so I'm not really worried about building anything right now. Now, we're probably losing money, and that's kind of to be expected at this stage, just because we have everything so broken down. What I may end up doing is I may end up breaking down the engine manufacturer right now. Yeah, once this car gets its wheels on, I'm going to delete this, pause, delete, and shift things around a little bit. Can I? Yes, I can, actually. I don't need to destroy that. Alright, so as you can see, body frame specialization, that's where a lot of the different sections comes in. The shell, the hood, the trunk, the bumpers. So it's good that we now have that. We're going to be able to break it down a lot further. But for right now, we're going to come down here. We're going to build a couple more fit engine sections, except I can't because that is in my way. If you build one over here, and delete this one, that would work, but we're just going to deal with the backup because I really don't want to delete this section of the line. That was my stupidity. So we're going to let things continue for a few minutes and see where they go. There's the doors. We get the doors, windows, and wing mirrors. Yay! Let's see. So we got bumper and arches specialization remaining. We're actually going to come down and let's see. What do I want to do? Well, we're going to start adding some extra features. We're going to start with... I think we're going to start with entertainment. This is something that the competitors usually don't really get into very quickly. It does take quite a while to get through, unfortunately. But we're producing, says 1 point per minute, so there's obviously a problem with the calculation. Because we have 8 research labs, 6 of them are producing 0.2. So, yeah, there's definitely a calculation issue with the points per minute. Either way, this will work. We're going to start working on our second line. So where are we going to have our second line come out? Oh, it'd be nice if I could have it come out here, but I can't. So we're going to build a bit of an interesting line, and we're going to start it over here. So, next step is to pause. Got the body broken down. Now this one I'm going to build with plenty of space to expand. Mainly because what we're doing here will need quite a bit of expansion. So accessories, we're going to bring it back here. Generally, you don't want to be that close. I'm probably going to regret having the stockpile so close. But I don't feel like moving it at the moment. Engine. This is another rather large, expansive upgrade. So we're going to bring this over here. And we're going to set it up probably right about here. This will give me plenty of space to break down the engine into all the various steps. Now, we're going to loop it around. And I haven't expanded paint yet, so for right now, we're going to have... I'm going to expand it. We're going to have 2 paint booths, sending things through. Now for the fun part, we have everything broken down, so we're going to start with a couple wing mirrors, couple windows. We're just going to do everything double at this point. Now see, this is one area where knowing your spacing actually proves far more helpful than this did. Because I screwed this up. I really should have had this spaced out by 1, and this wouldn't have been an issue. But this one's going to zigzag in. Not the end of the world, but it does kind of create some level of annoyance. Alright, so now we got the roof coming in for these two. And we're going to bring this over here. We're going to have the 2 roofs side by side. Now's the big one. Now we're still working on this bumper, but because we're paused, because I don't want to run out of money, because as soon as you hit 0, you are done. Your game is over. So we're not going to worry about the arches expansion or the bumper expansion, but we do have to put in some bottom trim. Now we're going to loop these around again, bring them back this way. So we'll get our bumpers in. Trunk. Hood, which unfortunately is a larger one. And finally the body shell. Again, this one's huge. It's a long piece. So that's it for fitting the body. Now we just have to fit the chassis. Now the chassis does break down. Not huge. Not too concerned about spacing this out in a specific way. So as you can see, this line takes up an absolute huge space. Actually, I don't need 2 chassis assemblies because chassis builds so much faster than the body does. So we're going to connect these. Now for the fun part. And this is where no auto connections actually really comes in handy. So we're going to get everything all hooked up. And let's see. Okay. Bring this down, bring it through. Okay. we gotta come up here, start adding in this section. See, no auto connections, and that just makes things so much easier. Alrighty, now we're back into the single area. Okay, so you can see I got everything hooked up. Now I got to start really bringing in the resources. So I got to use as many importers as I can, and we are almost out of cash. So now I really have no choice. I do have to take out a loan. So we're going to choose this $1.3 million loan, and we're going to get our conveyors all hooked up. Now the reason why I'm running so many resource importers is because if I don't, then these various pieces here will actually get slowed down and won't be able to get their parts as quickly as they need. So that's kind of the point of having a lot of resource importers. And it's just to really make it so that your areas are getting all the parts they need as fast as they need it. Now, over here we're going to run its own resource importer in this area. And again, just helping out the speed by a lot. And it's definitely not a small factor that we're increasing the speed by. It is actually huge. Alrighty, so now that we got everything hooked up, we can resume. And as you can see, the massive amount of stuff that has to be imported in. And this is really where it takes the time when you start spreading out the line and you really make a line like this, where it gets a lot more compact. Because you got to get all the parts everywhere they need. And as you can see, we already got one car rapidly going through. And now is kind of the boring part. Let's see. So we're still working on the bumper and the arches. Then we got all that entertainment research. That's going to take us a while. Now, we are going to see a huge decrease in money simply because as we're trying to get parts in and built, until we start getting cars out the door over here, it's going to take a while. So, we just sit back, relax, let these lines fill up, and then we should start selling multiple cars at a time. Alrighty. Eventually I'm going to expand over into this big area, make this kind of my SUV construction area. These areas here, this one's going to be for a basic, much more basic vehicle. Probably going to do all my base models out of here with a small little line with minor breakdowns. Not going all the way into full depth because I'm not doing all the options here. This spot is more than likely going to be one of my component construction areas. That's probably going to spill out into this area as well. And that's mainly because that's going to end up reducing our cost. Because if we come up here and we take a look at expenses, even now, without building a ton of vehicles, you can see the component purchases, all the pieces that we're assembling. That is the single largest expense other than building, which building, as you can see right here, we've spent over $3.2 million building things. We haven't really been doing a whole lot of raw materials, and that's mainly because we haven't really built the ability to use raw materials. Component purchase, just in the past 24 in-game hours, we've spent almost $400,000 just on component purchases. I mean, that's more than the rent that we're spending. Now, production, we're spending $41,000, sorry, $6,000 per hour, in-game hour. And that's only a little less than the rent. And yeah, even the wages aren't keeping up with the component purchase. Science, now science, it says science, that's a bit misnamed. That's actually the research staff. So we're spending about $3 grand on research staff at the moment. Our sales staff from the 2 exports, $500 an hour. That's nothing. We're not using any marketing. We're also spending quite a bit on power. And as you can see, we're in the red up here. That's fine for right now. I'm not super worried about it. I am going to be building some power plants for the factory here shortly. Debt repayment, well, this just started because we had to take out a loan. Debt interest, huge, obviously. So now I can add in-car music. I'm going to upgrade all slots. Now I'm going to come here to edit the model. And I'm going to do my standard naming model. This is going to be my S100. And I'm going to let this one be leaf green, sky blue, and banana yellow. Kind of crappy colors in my opinion. I'm more of a red guy. The orange doesn't look too bad either. Now, I'm going to take this. I'm going to create a similar model. This one is going to be the S200. This is going to be the mid-tier range. And this one, we're going to choose berry red, sky blue, and extrovert orange. Interesting name for the color. We're also going to come over here and we're going to check in-car music. You can see we have this little antenna thing kind of popped up, which is kind of cool. It increased our sales price, and we're going to actually put in a 5% sales premium. The cool thing about this is we actually get a premium market value-wise based on how many people have it in this thing's price category, which right now is still budget. So we're producing 2 budget cars, the S200 and the S100. This will eventually go up into mid-range, expensive, and luxury, but because nobody else really is running in-car music, we get a 47% boost to the market value of in-car music. That means we're getting an extra $871 out of this just because not many people have in-car music in this price range. So we're going to close that, allow this thing to continue. We're going to continue researching over here. And we're getting a lot of parts coming in, as you can see. Absolute astronomical number of parts flooding in, trying to get these cars through. And we've already backed up quite a bit because that paint just takes forever. But soon enough, we're going to be, in fact, we're going to add that to the queue. So we're going to come over to processes. We're going to break down the paint. There you go. So we're going to add that to the queue. Now for the long time stuff, we're going to fully upgrade, excuse me, all the drying. Just get that as upgraded as possible. And once we start actually building stuff, I'm going to add import priorities just so I can choose where we get stuff. But we're going to go ahead and do that, start breaking that down. And now it's just kind of a sit and wait sort of thing. So we've bumped up our sales to 5 per hour. We're not really producing enough cars apparently. And apparently they also seem underpriced. So this is a new little blurb here. Um, it didn't used to tell me this kind of information when I first got it. So this is actually really cool. So it's interesting that it's saying we're not producing enough cars for this section of the market. Um, Primarily because if you look, it does show the number of customers per hour that we are receiving that want a different vehicle. In fact, I really need to get the compact going. That way I can try and hit these 27 customers per hour and really start cranking out the cars. Okay, now we got Bluetooth phone support. We are going to do the upgrade for everything, and the S200 is getting that. And it's a $633 option. Which I think is really cool. Now, obviously, because this is closer, it's going to prioritize sending the cars down this line instead of this one. Just poor placement of the chassis assemble section on my part. But it'll soon enough start just pouring cars through on this side till it gets to paint. Oh, my neck. I need a better chair for streaming. But anyway, so this is production line so far. Now, because we do have people wanting other types of cars, we are going to actually add in and try and get to this body design so we can start researching other body types, including compact, and we can start really getting those cranked out. Now, I'm still new to the game. I haven't beaten it. I haven't gotten everything in every segment yet. So this is going to be one of those things that's going to be a little interesting to try and figure out. But hopefully we can actually get this thing built. And as you can see, cars are starting to trickle in on the other side because this body shell is getting full quite a bit. So it's going to fill this up and then it's going to overflow into the other one, which is good because now we'll actually start utilizing the other segments. So we have a lot of waiting for next vehicle, a lot of waiting for next slot. Not a whole lot of things are running, and that's because paint is really slowing us down. So we only have 20% of our slots running. Oh wow, we're down to 15 at some points. We're producing 4 vehicles an hour, and we have 12% of the vehicles actually doing things. And that's really a shame. So now we have voice recognition, an almost $1,000 option. So now this car is a $19,000 car. I am going to increase this to a 10% premium and this one to a 10% as well. Just really try and rake in the money. Now there has been some exploits in the past where you could actually bring in a ridiculous amount of money per vehicle. So we're going to come over here, we're going to take a look at this. So most of the vehicles we're producing are S100s. We're not really producing any 200s, and that's because I forgot one really important step, and I feel like an idiot for it. We actually need to add the S200. Now, we're going to keep producing the 100 on the basic line, not produce tons of them. And we're going to produce the 200 over here. Alright, now that that's done, we're going to come here. As soon as this car leaves, I'm actually going to get rid of these 2 paint booths. Same with this one. It's going to bog down the line something fierce. And we're going to sacrifice a couple cars. Unfortunately, this is necessary because we are making space for our new paint series. So we got to paint the undercoat. dry the undercoat, paint the finish, dry the finish. And we got to do this on both. Now I am going to leave an extra space available because eventually we are going to run this polished paintwork. But that's going to be in a bit. Okay. So now that we got that going, I got to add a route to the stockpile for these two. There we go. Now they're going to get their top coat paints, and we should start seeing these crank out a little bit faster. The drying stages just take an absolute dog's age, which is really crazy when you think about it. But that's why we're putting in the faster drying, turbo drying, and max power drying. So that's really going to help speed those areas up. Upgrade all slots. It's going to get those going a little bit faster anyway. So what I might end up doing is I might end up having a 100 and 200 going. So one line really cranks out the 100s. Yeah, I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to do a chassis assembly. I haven't researched any of those. So I'm going to put in this chassis assembly over here. But I'm going to make it a little funky just because I don't want to do any deletions of anything right now. Okay. So now we got two chassis assemblies that are really going to be cranking out vehicles. This one's going to be producing the 100s, only the 100s. The other one is producing the 200s. So we're going to see a bunch of 200s really getting cranked out here. And it looks like I'm going to need to add the engine process and expand on the engine. So we're going to do that, that, and that. So now we're going to get the engine fully specialized once we get the body design going. Once we get another body type able to be constructed, what I'm going to actually end up doing is I'm going to end up building another line, and that line is going to be built for compacts. All the compacts are going to go through there, and it's going to cycle about one of each type for each vehicle it produces. Benefit to that is I can hopefully, once all the options are researched, I can really offer a wide variety of features and get the entire compact segment picked, if that makes sense. And I can really dominate the compact market, and hopefully we can be producing 27 of them per hour. Now you see this little number up here, that's actually saying we have cars in our stock room. And it goes away because we're really starting to crank things out now over here. So we got the 200s and the 100s really being pushed through. This line is actually going to end up starting with the body section. It's really going to start having roughly one of each for the S100s and S200 models that I've set up. So we're not going to be exclusive. See, we have this one sitting in here. Customers aren't viewing it. Yep, somebody viewed it and bought it. Let's take a look at the market and see what people are saying. We're just not producing enough cars for this section is what it's saying. We're producing 5 an hour, we're selling 4 an hour, and we got 16 customers. So we really need to be producing like 18 or 19 budget vehicles, budget sedans, per hour to really keep up with it. And if you look, we've actually dropped down to 16 per hour for the compact because we just don't have any compacts. And we're now really backing up. Now it's not the paint that's backing up, because as you can see, the dry finish and the dry undercoat, they're waiting on the next one. They're done running in all of them. So we're going to have to start expanding our engine line. Let's see. Okay, we still have a fair bit until we can really expand that. So I'm actually going to remove the body design. We're not going to expand what our body options are for right now because we really need to get the engine expanded and really being built. How are we doing on money? Whew, we're losing about 42,000, 43,000 almost per hour. So right now, our line is not doing that good. We're just not producing enough cars off of this secondary line to really make it worthwhile. The good thing is we can accept up to 3 loans at any given time. I kind of want to avoid doing that as much as I can, but we'll see what ends up happening the more we do it. And here you can see all the options. So we are building a car with it for Bluetooth phone support. And as you can see, everything is really rare. But here we are. We just got one car getting through quality and export. So now paint is running as fast as its little legs will handle. Yay, car alarms. Gotta love apartments. Hey, okay, so now we've broken it down quite a bit. We still need to break down wheel assembly and steering assembly to really make this worthwhile at the moment. So we're just going to wait a little bit longer. We're going to get those. Then I'm going to delete fit engine. And we're just going to expand the crud out of this. And that should help us pick up the speed. The other thing we can do, in fact, I'm actually going to set that up. We're actually going to also, to the queue, we're going to add the ability to max out the amount of robots that we have on each thing. That's really going to help us get this thing going and really push up the speed. Then we're going to add to the body design and we're really going to crank that out. But for right now, as you can see, we're actually really backing up to the point where everything is stalled. So as you can see here, waiting for resources is a tiny little fraction. It's primarily waiting for the next slot that each unit's doing. And each slot is waiting for the next vehicle. We're not really running a whole lot, and that's one of the major issues with this bottleneck. We need these cars to just crank through, and it's just not happening. And unfortunately, that really slows it down. So up here, I'm actually going to be getting rid of 3 different connection points because we're actually going to be expanding this. So we are actually, okay, perfect. Now I can actually expand the one line. We're going to pause for a moment though, because we're going to come over here and we are going to take out an cheap loan. Now we're going to come over here, and unfortunately, we have to say goodbye to that. So we're really going to be deleting a lot. It's primarily because we have to get this thing expanded. So we got to start with the steering wheel, since we are, of course, working backwards. The steering column is also its own line. Tires. Wheels, brakes, and exhaust, radiator, and finally the powertrain. Alright, so now to hook everything up. Okay, now the engine can really just start taking off. And unfortunately, we're going to have some stalled by waiting on resources because the system now has to stock everything. But this should help us build up the speed and really start cranking through. Now, I'm not going to upgrade all slots with more robots because we really need to pick and choose where our delay is. So we're just going to do this. And we're going to look for what's causing us a delay. This one looks like it could use some more robots. Same with this one. So we're going to do buy more robots on those. Now this one is one of the ones slowing us down, as is this one. Now you're seeing we're getting insufficient resources, and that's because this one conveyor is trying to handle everything. So we're now going to connect our two conveyor systems here. Hopefully that'll help it really start cranking things through. And accessories, we are going to purchase both of those, really crank it through. Yeah, we're having resource problems, so we need to add a second resource importer. Now, the important thing to remember when you add a resource importer is how you hook it up. As you can see, we are producing a lot more cars. Got a couple 200s there. So we're still not producing quite enough, but we have bumped up our production by 2 cars per hour. So we're up to 7 cars per hour, 6 sales an hour. That should really help us start bringing up our profit. Obviously, we have a lot of negatives because, let's see, we're selling 3 of the 200s and 4 of the 100s at the moment. Now, that's a neat little feature. Okay. All time, we've sold 158 of the 100s. Not a whole lot there. Expenses. Again, component purchase way high. Okay. Capital investment's gone. Now we're bringing in 42,000 per hour. That's what's going to save our bacon. So now we are definitely getting some delays up here. As you can see, we got 4 cars working on accessories. There's a lot of accessories to add, and that's one of the big problems with not expanding things. So you have a lot that you're doing in one spot, whereas back here, each section has been broken down. It's kind of a convoluted layout here now, unfortunately, but this does really help the speed. We are really delayed back here. Accessories is really slowing us down, so we are going to have to expand that. But if you look, we're now actually able to create more chassis than we currently were. So we're going to come up here. We only have a couple things left that haven't been done. We're going to come up to accessories, and we're going to add that to our queue. And we're really going to start trying the expansion direction. Now, obviously, we're still losing a little bit of money, but this now gives us a direction for us to go. So if you look at the bottom, you'll also see we're actually hitting a lot of rival companies researching tech that we have not researched yet. And unfortunately, that's because we're trying to actually produce enough cars to saturate the market. Now, up here, we do have a problem. This is where some of our expense is coming from. So we're going to be deleting these. And the reason why I actually did that is because in Paint, we are actually going to be expanding our paint line. So that we can now, all things go well, really start pushing through the cars up here. So we'll get this built, get all the resource conveyor options hooked up. Just don't like how that looks. There we go. Alrighty. Now we can fast forward and really start pumping these cars through up here. Probably going to expand engine here in a little bit. Maybe. But what I'll do for that is I'll actually bring it down. Probably in this area, do the engine in a small loop, bring it back up through here. But as you can see, we're starting to really push through cars. We're starting to actually make a profit. Now, obviously, the capital investment of $202,000, we wouldn't really be losing that much right now. Unfortunately, I did put in a large capital investment, and we do need to do some more. Okay, so these are now all working as fast as they can. Let's take a look. So we still have a ton of waiting for next slot. That's one of the issues we're going to find as we play through the game. So there's a lot of vehicles that are going to end up waiting for next slot, and that's basically everything on this line is waiting for its next slot. All because we're being delayed up here at the accessories line. Alright, now we can build our design studio. And that's going to take too much of our money. So what I'm going to come over here and do is I'm going to take a look at what loans are available. We can do a $210,000 loan. Not going to be the most helpful, but we do need it. So, alrighty. Now the accessories are completed, now we can focus on more technologies. Now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to actually do driver assistance tech, power steering, auto steer headlights, cruise control. I'm going to get those in there. Then I'm going to do security features. Central locking, car alarm, keyless entry. Now that we're kind of set up of what we're doing, now I can hit pause and we can expand accessories. So, gonna get the lights, the horn, the seats, the windscreen. Not gonna do aircon, unfortunately. It's just too big of a spot here in the small space that I've unfortunately allotted myself. I just did not give myself enough space to add in air conditioning. That is going to end up hurting us, but for right now, I'm not too concerned about it. I'm more concerned about just getting the market share. So now we're going to fast forward, and hopefully we are actually going to get a lot more robots. Okay, now we're producing a ton more cars per hour. And that's going to save our bacon. That is actually really what's going to help us. So we're producing 4 per hour right now. 15 customers, 6 sales an hour. And not very good. We have bumped up our market share up to 4%. Or I have. However you want to look at that. Okay, we're going to add in power steering. Now, this is an option I'm actually going to add to both models. Actually, no. Just going to add it to the S200. So we're now pushing a ton of cars through. As you can see, we've got 5 sitting there. So we're selling 1 an hour and 8 an hour. So we're up to 9 cars per hour being sold. 13 produced, 9 sold per hour. So we're still not really producing enough to meet the customer demand, but we should really start seeing our money taking off. Alright, so now we have auto steer headlights, but it looks like I actually have to build it, like actually make them auto steering. It's not just going to add it, unfortunately. Oh, yes it will. Okay, there we go. So now we're really starting to push the envelope of what we're able to do, what we're able to sell. In fact, if we come to our overview, right now we're only losing 10,000 per hour, but we've just spent a ton of money on a capital expense, expanding our accessories line. So hopefully here shortly, we're going to actually see this bump up, and we should start seeing a profit of, there we are, 37,000 already. And we're going to add cruise control to it. $37,000 profit already, and that should only go up. So we'll wait a few more minutes, kind of see where it bumps up to. And we're kind of now really trying to saturate the options that we have. Okay, there we go. We're now up to $137,000 in profit, as you can see by us being back up to 600,000. Now the good news, there used to be a way I could pay that off. Apparently not anymore. So luxury options, we are now actually getting some options that I don't really want us to have quite yet. Now for some reason they start on the luxury level, whereas I start at the budget. I don't know how these companies are doing that, like how our competitors are able to do that, but somehow they are. But we're making hundreds of thousands of dollars in profit right now, which is good because pretty soon I am going to have to start massive expansion. Now, as you can see from capitalizing on a lot of this stuff, we're still budget here, which is absolutely crazy. But we're going to start pumping these out a little faster. Let's take a look at what our market is showing. We're producing 12 an hour, selling 14. We're also underpriced apparently, which is surprising. We're also almost up to 10% market share, 52% competitive. It's not the best competitiveness. We're not totally competitive, but we're really pushing cars through, which is absolutely astonishing that we're already doing that. Oh, looks like I need to choose the next research project. So we got a lot of options that have already been put through. Apparently I did not add in the touchscreen interface. That's a little surprising, to be honest. Alright, well, now we're going to do environmental features, AC heater, leather interior, sunroof. Now, obviously, I can't really fit AC in here. There's just no space, unfortunately. And I could bring it down, hit AC, and you know, there is a way to do it. It's just, it's a very annoying method. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for the Let's Play today. And I will try and do some more maybe tomorrow, but we'll have to wait and see. So anyway, have a good day, guys.